So it's been real hot where you are.
And
um,
then yesterday I went to town and I was gonna do Morrowind Mondays, and I just came back home and slept. Didn't do it.
hey, hey, man, dude, it has been. I have been streaming like nonstop over here, and it's ridiculous. I really like it. It's been a lot of fun, but I know I think it was yesterday. No, day before yesterday. I streamed. I started at 10 o'clock. At some point, I took like an hour, 2 hour break, but then came back and then streamed till like 11 or 12 o'clock at night. So
Jesus,
I essentially put in like a 10-hour shift in streaming.
right? I
Yeah.
like popped in. I popped in to see what was up every now and then.
hmm So you've been sleeping to avoid the desert heat, which I totally understand. Has there been anything Linuxy related going on in the past week?
Um, Not really.
You
I
still
just been
you
put.
you're still on
I've been
Manjaro,
putting.
right?
What's that?
You're still on Manjaro, right?
Yep.
Okay, okay.
And desktop still on Ubuntu.
As it should be.
And
I,
the old Pentium laptops on Ubuntu also. Started putting stuff beside RetroArch on it, like OpenRA, and on a sunny day, theoretically, I could have all three computers go on and land some of that stuff.
well, I was actually going to ask. So you're talking about that Pentium laptop, the Yoga 6 that I sent to you. Do you? Well, I assume since you're on solar power and you do have to keep an eye on how much power you're drawing. Does the Pentium pull more power than that Lenovo Yoga?
You know what? I'm not sure. I I don't think it does. It's got a 60-watt power supply.
Yeah, it probably draws a little bit less.
Yeah, but
But
it's an old 2014 laptop.
but so um, I'll go ahead and be real quick here too. When it comes to Linux, the past week has been an absolute. It started off as a dream. It started off as a dream. I mean, I was back on Arch using rat poison, loving it. Then it went to all hell. I'm 99% sure it was Xorg. Started just shitting the bed,
Hmm.
causing many issues. I thought it was PyCom. Wasn't PyCom. Uh, then I started distro hopping. Again, if you've been watching the live streams, you know, been crazy distro
It's
hopping.
Yeah, it's been look like a whole bunch of fails on the new hardware.
It absolutely has been. Dude, there's just my requirement of moving to a stable, like a proper stable distribution on new hardware is not a good idea. It's just a bad idea. Uh,
Well,
uh,
that's what ended up making me go to Manjaro on the Yoga 6, because there was just weird issues. It was like 95% good on Ubuntu.
and that's why I had to leave Arch. Like I don't think Arch was a problem whatsoever. But switching over to something new was essentially needed because I couldn't figure out how to fix the Xorg issue in Arch. Fedora is working out just perfectly fine, so that's good. Now let's get to Lewis. What's been going on in your Linux week?
I think it was it's not the whole week because I was camping for a week and I was offline there, but I would count it as the last 7 days when I were online.
Mhm.
And it was probably the most horrible week in Linux I've ever had
How
because I
so?
was in Pop OS and I really don't like Debian. I never
I've heard
used
that
it.
more and more.
I never used it because I thought, oh no, Debian is this distribution for noobs. I don't want to use this ever. But then I was in a project. They searched for people who helping them packaging Debian packages. Then I thought, let's give PopOS a try because the new Cosmic desktop and it's
Mhm.
better than GNOME. but it's still not good. Then I installed Plan 9 Pod on it to have my Plan 9 experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it was usable, but it was not good. Then I decided to install other distributions, but I never get a successful install. I tried Manjaro. There I wanted to do the encrypted install, but then my password just didn't work. I done it twice and it was the same problem. Then I switched to ALGO, thought I shouldn't give the encrypted install a try. I just do the normal install, and now I'm on ALGO. It's Arch. I want to use Gentoo, but now I think it's for me now important to just have a working PC.
And that's my argument against Gentoo there. I just want to have a working PC. I don't want to spend
Right.
2 days getting it up and running. Like, and even after that, I mean, most people will not talk about the maintenance with a Gentoo system. It is, I mean, if you're a sysadmin in your professional life and you just don't get enough of your professional life at work, Gentoo's a perfect fit for you. You need to be a sysadmin to have a really well maintained and a really good Gentoo install. That's my opinion. You need to be a sysadmin. Now, I will go ahead and say one thing. I saw your name here on Discord, and I'm pretty sure you've got it set up where it sets your name to like what you're using. And so I see Arco and /xmonad. So you're using xmonad right now?
Yes, I'm using a config from GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
I just added my key bindings and it's working. It's not great, but it's like the Plan 9 window manager having the tiling mode, and sometimes I just want to use the tiling mode and not use the Plan 9 window manager. Then I decided to give xmonad a try, but it's not DWM. But it's fine.
I will say one thing. You're definitely right there. It's not DWM. But here's my thing with xmonad. And this is exactly the reason why I can't recommend it to people. But at xmonad, at the very least, I will say this: it's a good tiling window manager. And if you're that 2% of the human population that needs or uses Haskell in any other way than xmonad, yeah, it's worth it. Like that Haskell is a super out of date, rarely used programming language. But if you want to, I guess if you want to learn Haskell, xmonad is a decent way of going about doing it. But I don't think anyone has Jeff, Lewis, both. I got to ask you, this is a question to both of you. Jeff, you respond first. Do you know anyone on Earth in real life at all that needs or wants to learn Haskell?
Nope.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. I was just about to say Lewis. Yeah. So yeah, no, of course, because there is no practical use nowadays for like, all right, here's a good example. Let's say tomorrow that someone ports Firefox, like they remake Firefox all in Haskell. Is that a benefit? Does that do anything? Like, I don't, as far as I know, Haskell is not a hyper performant programming language. It's not like it's just hyper complex. That's really all I've learned about Haskell. It's like, if you want overly complex syntax, this is a language for you. So I don't know if Haskell would be something that like anyone out there could benefit from, but if you're that type of person who wants to learn Haskell, yeah, go there. But I can't recommend it because who wants to learn Haskell? Why do you need to learn? What are you going to do? You going to make a calculator in Haskell? I don't know. I mean, I feel like there are as much of a meme as it is, I feel like you have more potential benefits from learning something like Rust than you do Haskell. Okay, Santiago said, I want to learn Haskell. And here's my question, this is not a complete joke. It is a little bit joke. I will say it a little bit jokingly, but it's not a complete joke. Why? Like, how will learning Haskell, other than the fact that you know Haskell now, how would it benefit you? I don't know if anyone who's looking for, DWM but remade in Haskell. I don't know. Well, I mean, that's pretty much Xmonad if we're being honest. But yeah. So other than Haskell and all of that goodness, so let's move into it, because I wanted to ask you guys this, because I assume both of you have seen what's going on with Elementary OS and all of us checking it out. Would you consider, Jeff, you go first here, would you consider moving to Elementary OS in the near future?
Nope.
Particularly why?
I quit distro hopping years and years and years ago. I started with Ubuntu. I tried a bunch of other things. It's a long time ago, including Sabian, which was Gentoo based.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I tried Sabian and Fedora, and I can't remember why, but I actually like Sabian better than Fedora for whatever reason that was. But
now, just in case anyone tries to correct you right here, typically people pronounce it Sabian, but here's the thing.
Okay.
See, here's the thing. I've got to defend you for a second, because here's the thing. Every single Linux related thing nowadays has to be named with some completely weird naming scheme that no one can, on God's green earth, can be expected to know how you're supposed to pronounce. So no one say anything. I got you.
I also say sudo instead of sudo, and I know it's super user do. It's like technically sudo is more correct, but I don't know. I just say sudo. Same.
It's sudo. Now, I literally have a massive brain fart here, and I can't remember. Oh, yeah. I asked Jeff, would you consider switching to Elementary OS? So, Lewis, would you consider switching to Elementary OS?
No, I just switched away from Debian because I hate it. Why should I switch to Elementary OS? When I heard all of you are switching to Elementary OS, at the first moment I thought about, yes, let's give Debian a second try, but no.
Yeah, no.
I'm sure I won't like it, and I'm sure Gentoo is the best distribution for me, but Arch is something that just works.
Yeah, like that's why I like Arch. Arch is essentially like if you took Gentoo and removed making compiling like from source necessary, like because I mean Gentoo does have binary applications like Firefox, because even the developers of Gentoo know you most likely want to use the internet while you're compiling Firefox for 24 hours. Like, at least they know it. So there are binary applications for Gentoo. So essentially, like, Arch is where you get all of your software binary. You can still build it from source, and you get all the general spirit of the customizability of Gentoo, but without all of the hardcore necessary work and hassle of stuff like, I don't know, circular dependencies, which, by the way, if you haven't checked out Gentoo and you're not familiar with what a circular dependency is and how to deal with it, don't learn it. They are a massive pain in the ass. And that is something that people say on Gentoo that's very rare. And from my experience, I can tell you that's not true at all.
No, I never had a circular dependency. The first time I heard about it, it was when you said to me that you have one, how to solve it.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I found online is apparently really abnormal for people. But the thing is again, I'm not saying it's not rare for most people, but I will say if you run into circular dependencies problems, apparently you're going to be plagued by them your entire Gentoo experience, which is not great.
I think I had that happen once, like 8 years ago or something. It wasn't Gentoo, but It was some Ubuntu package, and it's like, well, you can't. This depends on this, so you can't install this. And then the other thing that it depended on the thing I was trying to install, so I couldn't install that either. I don't remember what it was, but it's like, what the?
And and here's one thing I will say: the fix on Gentoo, like I can't remember how I had to go about fixing my first circular dependency. After the third one, I was done. But like the first one, I can't remember what it was I had to fix it, but I just remember it being asinine. I was very confused as to why it was working, but hey, we shouldn't turn this into a stream where we just shit on Gentoo. I feel like Gentoo gets enough hate.
Well, you know, we shat on Chromebooks enough the last couple, I think.
True that.
Someone else can get a turn.
But I will go ahead and say this: it's not like they don't deserve it. But anyway, moving on from shitting on Chromebooks, because we're not going to do that 3 times in a row. When it comes to trying out new Linux distros, Elementary OS was, I don't know if y'all both were watching or there in the stream for the part of, so I installed the beta for Elementary OS 6. And it installs with the 5.8 kernel. And then you do an update on Elementary OS 6, again, this is the beta. So then after that update, it installed the 5.11 kernel for me. I'm like, oh, cool. But we were talking about getting an even newer kernel. We figured out how to install 5.13 pretty easily. So I installed that too. Did a reboot. Literally. Oh, and by the way, there were people in the chat that confirmed that they were there watching when I was installing the 5.13, and it, excuse me, they confirmed it installed and built the hooks for being able to boot with the newer kernels. When I turned it back on, when I restarted my machine, both newer kernels, even the newer kernel that EOS 6 installed itself, wasn't even available to be booted from. I could only boot using the 5.8 kernel.
What the?
Now, I will totally chalk that up to it being the beta version. But let's be honest, I got the beta that was literally 2 days ahead of the released version. So that worries me. That really does, because I mean, I had people in the chat that were just as bewildered as me as what was going on. How do you build hooks for Grub, and then Grub doesn't even have the options for the newer kernels? I don't even know how that's I was telling people, I was like, I don't even know how this is humanly, scientifically, physically possible in this universe. Like, it installed, but yeah. So that when it comes to Elementary OS acting like that, have y'all ever had another distribution that you used in the past do that?
Nope.
Yes. Gentoo.
Really? like for a fact, it built hooks for the newer kernel, and it still wouldn't boot from it?
Yes, it's probably a problem with the kernel I use, so maybe I've done something false. It was in my early days of Gentoo.
I just never encountered that before. So I was like, I can't understand it. Santiago asked, did you rebuild Grub? Yes. Grub rebuild. That was part of the output. I know that for a fact.
You run grub mk config?
Yes, because before I restarted the stream, when I didn't get a freaking option for it, I did. Because I know it could just be a problem with the grub config. So I ran that command, then rebooted again, and again, no options. So it was like it installed the kernel, and I know it even pulled down headers, and it wasn't a weird issue like that, but it was almost like it installed the kernels, but then had no way of actually booting from anything other than the original kernel that it came with, which is very weird. But now, so I've talked about that. Has there been anything weird issue-wise that you guys have ran into here recently?
X-Plane stopped working on the Yoga 6. So
Wait.
there's like 2 things that have stopped working in the last month.
Wait, you cut out during the first word. So what stopped working?
X-Plane.
What? It stopped working?
It just stopped working.
No.
It just crashes. It just crashes back to the desktop. It starts to start.
No.
You get to the menu and you like go and click new flight and pick a new flight and it starts to load and
No, I've been playing it. It's so good.
right?
Dude, it's so good. Lewis, if you don't know what we're talking about here, and for anyone who's watching who's like, what the hell is X-Plane? Go ahead and search
From
it.
what
So
I've read about it, it's not quite as pretty as a Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it's way more accurate. And there's actually a version of it that's approved by the whatever that organization is for actual flight training.
Really?
I think I read that somewhere.
Well, here's the one thing that I will say. You might be right in that it's not as beautiful as the Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I will say this. It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. If you load this game up and you complain about the visuals, I'm sorry, but you literally need to reevaluate your life and priorities because it looks great. Now, for me, when I first tested it out, it defaulted to using now this was a problem not with the game, but my system used the internal graphics card at first instead of the discrete one, and that the default settings for that it was pretty low and bad looking, but it ran perfectly fine on an integrated, very low power chip. So that's
when it does run on this Yoga 6, it's fine on the APU graphics.
And even at lower settings, it still doesn't look like garbage. It's still good. Now, mine defaulted to some really low settings, and so there were some really bad jagged edges, but it was fine. And I mean, it's a completely free. Not completely free. The demo is free for it, but even the paid version is very, very reasonable for how detailed of a simulator this is.
Yeah, for simulation software, I don't think it's expensive because it's highly accurate simulation.
For a game,
it's not really a game.
Exactly. Yeah. For a game, it's at the normal like AAA price point, but it's not. It's well more than a game. I will say one thing though. People online, I've watched some videos playing this, like of people playing this online, and it is very, very interesting because people do tend to take this way more seriously than people take Windows Flight Simulator.
Right.
And I mean, like you can go through. They've got plenty of pictures on their website. This game, again, I keep calling it a game. This simulator is very good looking. And again, the demo is not like you're not going to load into it and get 5 minutes of messing around and then the timer expire. It's not that type of crappy demo.
What do they give you? Like, was it? I can't remember what they give you. Is it 15 minutes or something?
I thought it was 30 minutes.
Maybe it is. I can't remember. It's like it keeps crashing now for some reason.
And here's one thing that I will say. For me, I did sort of notice if you install it. I don't know if this is true if you're using something like Windows, but uninstalling it and reinstalling it does reset the demo. Just saying it. Just at least for me it did. So that's one way of looking at it. And again, on Steam, it is available on Steam. And one thing I will say is I haven't seen it on sale on Steam, but I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on it in Steam because Steam, we all know, has great summer and Christmas sales. Christmas sale isn't too far away.
Well, there's a Halloween sale too, isn't there?
Yes, but the Christmas people might disagree with me a little bit on this, but the Christmas sale and the summer sale are literally insane. Like, I have picked up AAA games that are like 4 months old and for $5-6. It's incredible. But that being said, this might be something like, like I know Substance Painter and Designer are on Steam too. It might be one of those things that doesn't really ever go on sale, but one can definitely hope. So,
Right.
Lewis, have you ever heard of X-Plane? Well,
No, I'm not big in gaming. I just play Minecraft.
I mean, I totally forgot. So earlier during the stream, I think it was actually you that said you were talking about, you mentioned Minecraft. I can't remember what we were talking about, but mentioned Minecraft. I was like, oh, I need to install the Java edition of Minecraft because there's a texture pack. I can't remember what it's called. Hold on. Minecraft texture pack. No, it starts with ORD. I can't remember its name. But it's like a hyper realistic.
That's not for my PC.
Five best realistic.
I'm surprised I haven't installed Valoran lately. That's a neat looking RPG that looks a lot like Minecraft or Cubes.
Yes, actually, I have. Now that you mentioned it,
The hand glider's great.
Yes, dude, I played it for like 5 or 10 minutes. It was really fun just to pop in and try it.
Right.
Okay, if I could spell it right. How do you spell it? Do you know?
Valoran?
Yeah.
VELOREN, I think.
I could have sworn it had a in it. I don't. Lauren Voxel Game. Shit, or just Voxel. Ah, here we go. Valoran. Yep, you spelled it right. Voxel, the Voxel-based community-driven RPG. Cool. I don't want to go to their subreddit though. I would like to be able to download GitHub. Here we go. Yeah, and I mean,
I think you want to use the. I think you want to use their app image on there. I can't remember, but the last time I had it installed, they was updating that thing like at least once a day, sometimes twice a day.
Ooh. Ooh. Okay.
And then because if you weren't on the latest version, then the multiplayer online didn't work.
Mm-hmm. Let me just see. I'm going to pop into the software center here on Fedora and just see if it's in here. It is. Okay.
What?
The game is available through the Fedora Software Center.
Interesting.
Epic.
Do you think I should give Fedora a try?
And specifically, do not use the snap for that one. You'll get an old version, and the online multiplayer is not going to work.
Well, that's what you get for using a snap. Just don't use snaps.
Well, I'll stick, but I will say, as far as snaps go, the OBS snap's really good because they put all the extra plugins and stuff in there for you already, and I keep on the Edge version, and that's the I try to stay away from snaps, but that one's good.
See, here's the thing. So for one thing, Lewis, I did hear you. Should you try Fedora? If you want a system that works, you can just works and you're fine with GNOME, sure, yeah, give it a try. Because DNF is actually like the package manager inside of Fedora is fantastic. It's amazing. I really like. I've got my Vim. Just make this much bigger and zoom in a little bit here. If I Vim into my etc DNF, I'm not going to make any changes here. DNF in my config file. For one, you have to set a parameter so it defaults to yes, because this DNF is one of the few package manager out there that actually defaults to no. but you need to set something true for the fastest mirror, which makes stuff a little bit faster. But then I've got this setting here for max parallel downloads. Oh, I've got it set to true, like an absolute idiot. It needs to be set to 10. What am I doing? Oh, of course I didn't sudo in here. Oh my god. Everybody can just tell this is not my day. But yeah, you can have 10 max parallel downloads going at once with DNF, which is amazing. Absolutely love it. Yes, it's completely free to play. Oh, I did not know it was written in Rust. That's interesting. But so, Jeff, when's the last time you played Minecraft? Have you played Minecraft?
I haven't played Minecraft. I've watched people play it, and I can see the charm in it, but it's just not for me.
Oh.
Actually, I did try it once for like a day, but I don't even remember when that was.
Here's one thing I will say about Minecraft. Minecraft is not that interesting playing it by yourself. But you get a few of your friends, you guys get a server together, and you start building out a world. It is
right.
So fun. So fun. Now, one thing I will say is Valoran seems much more interesting. I just opened it up and it's completely borked. This is literally what I'm getting. For those who are just watching or just listening, I guess, this Valoran has opened up to a black screen with a whole bunch of stuff just torn across it. Don't know what's going on, but if I probably downloaded the app, it should probably work fine. But so Java edition of Minecraft. Holy crap. I did not realize Minecraft was still so expensive.
Huh.
It's $26.
You gotta be kidding.
No. Well, it's actually I am kidding. It's $26.95. But yeah, I did not know Minecraft was still that expensive.
Airshipper, that's what you want, the Airshipper version, because the Airshipper keeps it up to date.
Ah, I did not install that. I just installed regular old Valoran. That's probably why it's.
Oh, I guess it's and there's a flat pack also. I thought I had an app image last time I installed it. Oh, it's in the AUR.
Oh man, everything's in the AUR.
And Airshipper's the launcher, and it, like I said, it updates the game when you to the latest version when you run Airshipper.
Hey, okay. Update.
If you want to, yeah, if you want to keep, if you want to play online.
Well, of course. And Valoran is one of those games where I will say one thing: the community that actually helps develop it is very active. Very active.
Yep.
Because even in the past year, it's come a long way.
And it was one of the ones that actually ran good on the Pentium laptop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was surprised.
It is definitely a very surprising project, and it's very good. I am surprised. Okay. No. It's still loaded up, borked.
Huh.
I should probably just try the app image if we're being honest. Probably fix a lot of problems, but do that another time. So, in the gaming space, have y'all been? I know you've been playing Morrowind, Jeff. Anything else?
Fallout New Vegas, and I'm starting text adventures on Sunday nights again.
I totally forgot you've been streaming Fallout New Vegas here recently. It's actually really fun to watch you play that game.
I watched back one of those streams, and boy, it looks beautiful. It streams great.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is one of the games that you can definitely stream at like any resolution, and it still come through as a good experience.
Yeah.
Lewis, you been playing anything new or interesting here recently?
No.
Just that old Minecraft, right?
Yes, just Minecraft with a friend on the server.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I really, really will be getting back into Minecraft. Only because I want them hyper realistic textures.
I actually use workspaces when I play text adventures.
Really?
Because I'll have the game on one workspace and the map on the other, and boop boop boop. It's about the only time I use workspaces.
What text adventure have you been playing recently?
I started Babel, which I haven't played in a long time. It's from 1997, and it's not a Z file, so frauds don't work for it. You have to use Gargoyle.
Mm. Now I can't remember which one it was that I played.
And I didn't get very far. I hadn't played it in a while. I have gotten through it before, but I forgot everything, and I didn't get very far at all. Monday.
I mean, some of the text adventure games that I found are incredibly deep.
Yep.
I played one. It was a short text adventure game. I can't remember its name, but it was really interesting because I can't remember its name, but like you started out and like you were just in a house. You figured out at one point you figure out you've murdered somebody.
905.
905. Yes. Dude, that was so good. So good.
And you gotta play it like a second or third time to get all the endings, and you might the first time you play it, you might not know you killed someone until you're at the end of the game. So then you got to go back and play it the second time to look under the bed. And
yeah, like the first time I drove into work like an absolute tard.
Right.
After killing somebody, just killed somebody. Let me go into it.
Let's pretend to be him and go to work as him.
Yeah, that's what it is. You go to work as him, and you get arrested.
But you might not know you're doing that till you do it.
Yeah, that one's really good. I don't know. I guess we could talk about this for a second. Why in the hell are text adventure games so niche nowadays when there are so many?
I don't know.
Ones?
I don't know. It's like you figure you would think that with everyone having a phone or a tablet these days, staring at the thing, they'd come back. Because a tablet or a phone is so overpowered as far as running them. Mm-hmm. I think people just aren't into the mind engagement. I don't know.
I was about to say that. I think
all thinking and reading.
Reading. That's what it is right there. I feel like people nowadays are just not willing to read. Reading has somehow become boring. I mean, let's be honest. There are journalists now who have been caught, literally caught red-handed, where their research is just reading a headline.
Oh, they don't even know how to write anymore. You try to read some of that. It's like 5 paragraphs of gobbledygook, and there might be 5 sentences in the whole thing that say something.
Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is there are a lot of journalists now who their version of good writing is it's in it's shitty text. You're not really going anywhere. You're not really explaining anything cohesively, but the reason they got to the point where they call themselves a journalist is because they pass tests and they format the text in MLA format. That's it.
Well, it's a tangent, but the writer for WandaVision actually publicly said on some forum or something somewhere that the comics were too hard. She didn't read the comics. They were too hard to read. It was too hard to follow the panels. And it's like, what the? Are you kidding me? You can't even read at a 9th grade level and you're writing for a show? How does this happen?
Wow.
Yeah, it's like, what? And I liked that show at first. It went downhill, I thought, but it started out good.
Mm-hmm. I actually haven't seen this. I definitely need to give it Look, see. Okay. Oh, interesting. I can't believe I have 3 weeks after the events of Avengers Endgame. How have I not seen this? I have no idea how I've never seen this. Now I am definitely diving headfirst into this.
Of course, I might like it. I might like the beginning of it because of my age, because it starts out in all the like the old 60s. It starts out looking like the 60s sitcoms and then moves up into the 70s and the 80s. So it's kind of like it's kind of like reminiscent of me growing up in the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Watching all those old shows.
Nostalgic. Huh. I definitely okay, so is it only on Disney Plus? Well, we all know
there are ways.
Yeah, completely legal ways of downloading your movies. Nobody would illegally download movies. I mean, we all know that. That doesn't happen. Yeah. Nobody's dumb enough to illegally download movies. We're all legally downloading them here. Come on. Now, when it comes to movies and TV shows, have y'all been watching anything new or gotten super into anything recently?
No, I'm just listening to podcasts.
Well, I will nerd out here for a second. Oh, go ahead.
I got to get back to Babylon 5. I'm somewhere in season 3, and then I like put it down for a month or so. I got to finish that. That's a really good series.
Mm-hmm. And you also have to be careful that habit of putting down a show when you're into it. You put down a show for even just 2 days, and it'll be like 3 months later. You're like, no, I should really finish that.
Right.
No, see, the reason I.
And then I might watch the Battlestar Galactica reboot again. That was like one of the few reboots that I actually liked and think was good.
I haven't seen the reboot of Battlestar Galactica. I need to watch that. I can't. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can't believe I haven't seen the reboot. I need to do that. Anyway, right now I've been super deep into Stargate. Like everything I've watched Stargate SG1. Again, I'll load up Stargate SG1 here so that everybody who's watching can at least look at what Stargate is and not just have to hear me explain it all out. But
it's entertaining. I liked it.
It's a really, really interesting show. Whether you like it or not, I can totally see it being way too outlandish. And I can totally see that. But it is a very interesting show. They go some very interesting places with it. And so I've watched Stargate SG1, Stargate Atlantis, which is the follow-up to it. I went back and watched the original Stargate movie, which was very, very good. Again, doing something unique. So I'm not saying you're like definitely gonna love it. It's just you definitely can't be like, well, that's not physics. Like if you're a very like rational person and you need your TV shows to be rational too, you're just your media to be rational, you're probably not going to be able to get on board with Stargate. But if you can get on board, it's a great show. And the only thing that I will say is very weird is apparently there is a Stargate Universe. I have not seen this. It's a I think it's a spin-off. I don't think it's actually a follow-up to either one of the other shows or movies, but it's I think there's 40 episodes. So there's 2 seasons, and it is extremely weird because I don't know. I've seen some of the trailers for it. It looks very, very weird. But that being said, I'm just about to start diving into it. It seems very interesting, and it takes the Stargate like sort of story and just completely expands it to a whole new level, which I don't know if I'm going to like. I'm very nervous about this because I don't want it to ruin the show for me. Like, I don't want to start watching and be like, oh, this is good, and then they just go into a crap fest with it. But now, other than TV shows and what we've been getting on there with, I have to ask this because, I've said this before. Hopefully now people will definitely know this. I'm super interested in Earth ships and what Jeff is doing. So how's the Earth ship going?
Well, it's starting to cool off. Got a partly cloudy day, so I'll start working on that again here, maybe this afternoon or this evening. But last week I took it off.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you got a lot of construction to do with one of those Earth ships, so gotta take breaks.
And I did do a little work on my outdoor stove today because it's been sitting out in the weather. It was made out of mud, and it's sitting out in the weather for like 10 years. And I had done a little bit to it at the beginning of this year, but then I did a little bit more today. It started out as an experiment to see how one would work indoors and have a chimney take the smoke outside, but now it's just an outdoor stove. The experiment was successful. I probably will build one into my kitchen, but I'll have the smoke go to an oven before it goes up and out.
Smart. Now, I do have a question here. What are you working on, like when it comes to your Earth ship right now?
I'm just trying to get a 4-inch layer of pumice-crete on the roof before winter, and there's a few places I got to add some more. I got to add some more plaster where it's thin, and that's basically what I'm working on now. Just trying to get some layer of a layer of insulation on before winter hits.
Now,
I eventually want to go with 12 inches of pumice-crete.
Is pumice-crete is that good for like the insulation?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Actually, it's not a bad building technique to build entire houses out of either. Actually. Really.
Now, also, I do have a question. So, where you are there any building codes whatsoever?
Yes, but if you're not on the main road, no one's going to see you.
So, like, essentially, no one cares.
And it's really hard to get an address out here.
Mm-hmm.
But,
have you been able to?
Yes, I did get an address.
Awesome.
And so I'm kind of, they know I have a residential, it's on file somewhere that there's an actual residential structure here. So a lot of people out here, some do and some don't. So I'm happy that I have an actual address. So I'm actually kind of more legal than most people.
I was going to say, don't they actually have like allotments for Earth ships where you are?
Well, there are codes for Earth ships, yes.
Okay, yeah.
The reason for building it is just to be independent.
Yeah, because
have an easy retirement. Have my house take care of me instead of me take care of my house.
And I was going to say too that you're essentially, when you're done with your house, so you have no more building costs whatsoever. You essentially, all you have to do is pay land taxes.
Yeah.
And let's be
buy
honest.
Some food.
I'm not going to ask you straight up how much your land taxes are, but I will say one thing. I've looked at prices of purchasing an acre in I can't remember what county it was, but somewhere in New Mexico, and it was literally the property taxes for it were like $5 a year. It's
if there's nothing cheap on it, yeah.
Well,
once you claim a house or something, it goes up, but yeah.
Well, that's one thing I was looking at. Apparently, the county in which I was looking at, they actually pride themselves on having no building codes, no building restrictions. You can move out there, build whatever you want.
Oh, really?
Yep. And I think I know the county started with an S. I don't know if it was like Sirocco or what, but
Huh.
Buying an acre out there, it was like, I mean, I'm pretty sure the acre was like $1,500. Like, I mean, it was not
That's
bad.
that's not bad at all. That's cheaper than where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, not bad at all. Now, I have no idea how far out in the middle of nowhere this place is.
Oh, it probably is.
Yeah, but still, cheap ass land, and so no building codes. And then when I was looking it up, so if I was to actually build like an earthship or any type of structure on the property, if I was to get an address and make it a residential piece of property, which it already technically is a residential piece of property, but legally get it done, my property taxes would go up an estimated $15. So I was like,
Huh.
so at the end of the day, $25-$30 for my taxes every year. Awesome.
And yeah, my taxes are so cheap. I could get a waiver for being a veteran, and veterans can get a waiver on their land taxes here, and I haven't even applied for it.
Really?
I just pay them.
I did not know. That's awesome. Well, for one, thank you for serving, man. You probably told me you're a veteran before, but just in case I haven't said that, thank you for serving. Also, I did not know you got great benefits like that. That's epic.
Yeah, I didn't know about it till like one of my neighbors who's also a veteran told me about it, and they haven't done it either because it's just like,
I mean, pay the $5. Like, why not?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at least the county can use it to, I don't know, maybe one day pave a road. Like, you know, yeah, they watch it all. And also when you think about, like, I know in other countries, $5 it can be like, you know,
right.
a little bit of money. But let's be honest, it's for an entire year, and the average McDonald's employee will make $300 to $400 a month, easy. Now, I don't know if you'll get over that, but yeah, like I mean, also that's why people joke about McDonald's. If you're not from the U.S. and you're just not familiar with this, literally people joke about McDonald's here because you can't. If you go into McDonald's and get a job, like telling someone that you need a job and that they should just go and work at McDonald's is actually a degrading statement, because what you're saying is you should go and work to make not enough money to even cover the most basic bill, which is rent. Like, if you work at McDonald's, I highly doubt you make enough money to cover your rent. If you can cover your rent, that's awesome. But most likely, past that, the loaf of bread you buy at the store, you're done. You're out of money. Like, the only way there's a reason why here in America, when you go to McDonald's, you'll see mostly kids working there, like teenagers. It's because that's the only, they don't have to pay rent. Their parents aren't asking them for rent. It's the only way you can work at McDonald's and it be a worthwhile job. Now, some McDonald's, though, like the one in my town, is actually pays well, and I've never seen a McDonald's pay well before, but they start you off at here like $3 over minimum wage, which most McDonald's you get minimum wage at. Like, you're not getting higher than that. But actually, now this is, again, we're completely going off on a tangent here, not having one bit lick of Linux related stuff here, but out where you are, is there like job availability out there, like good job availability?
It depends. Sometimes if you want to work at a fast food job, yeah. Good paying jobs, nah.
Well, because I was going to ask, I mean, like, maybe there's good construction jobs out there. Maybe
there usually is.
Well, I didn't even think about
Actually,
it.
there was a I missed it, but there was someone not far from here. They was paying, and it was just individual, and they were paying $22 an hour.
Oh, that's not
to
bad
dig
at all.
dig dirt and make adobe bricks and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. That's good pay. That's good pay.
They started offering 15, and that didn't work out for them, so they upped it to 22. I guess they wanted a higher caliber person.
Well, I mean, I will say one thing. Like, I am all down for, like, I've had very physical, like, labor jobs and worked at $15
I prefer
an hour.
physical labor jobs.
Same. Like
It's just that the heat affects me more now than it used to, though.
and that's what I was going to say. Like I'd much prefer physical labor jobs. For one, they normally pay more. Like, let's be honest. But $15 an hour, I'm down for a physical labor job, except in that desert heat. You need to pay me a little bit more. Like that, I'm all down for working hard, but I don't know about in desert heat for $15. But yeah. Well, so actually, when it comes to Linux and stuff like that, is there any job availability for that type of like system IT work out there?
I don't think so.
Like even if you were to go into like a main
Maybe
city,
maybe at my internet provider.
Good point.
Which is
maybe there,
which is pretty cool because they specialize. They're a local provider and they specialize in the mountainous terrain. So they got like the repeater I'm on's about a mile on a hilltop over that way.
Interesting.
And all their repeaters are off-grid, solar powered.
Oh, dude, that's a company I would be very interested in working for. That I would actually like. Those are the type of companies where like I don't just want to work for you. I'm interested in helping you become an even better business. Like, because you're doing something cool, interesting, and worth it. That's well, I mean, also I didn't think about it, but it's probably also a better idea for all of those repeaters to be off grid. That way, there's no chance of you really ever having a problem. They just require minute amounts of maintenance. That's pretty smart as a business. Yes. I know Terminal for Life. I've been streaming for forever. We're streaming this podcast right now, and it's absolutely epic. Here's one thing, Lewis. So where you are, is there good job availability for IT, Linux related stuff?
Yes, not near, but in the next city.
Okay. So you'd have to go a little bit, but there's at least some availability out there.
Yes.
See, like out here where I live, I'm more rural too. So there's maybe like there's IT jobs out here, but they're very sparse and it's heavily competitive because even though there might be only like 20 IT interested people out where I live, there's probably only 5 jobs. So those 20 people compete like hell to get them. So like that is one of the things when people ask me, like, why don't you go out and get that type of job? Like I'd have to drive an hour and a half to get to work every single day to even get a good, decent, job. Because there's nothing out here where I am. Now, that being said, I do have a question for both of you. Have you tried doing like system maintenance stuff like that for people like in your area, like doing that as like a side job, like helping other people with their computers?
No, not much. I've installed Linux on a couple people's computers and they liked it, but other than that, nope.
Well, I mean, I would also assume where you are, if you can take a desktop PC, like when most people around you are going to be living off grid, it helps to have a PC that is not soaking up as many resources, and that's just, you cut down on your power usage. Also, I would assume out where you live, there's not a ton of hardcore gamers who are like, well, I need to run Doom at max settings. Okay.
You'd be surprised.
Really?
How many there are? There's not many, but there are more console gamers than PC gamers, but
that's
they're out
interesting.
Here. And there's
like off-grid as well.
There are it's everything's off grid out here. The closest power line's 5 miles away. It goes to like one place.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap! Yeah, you got to be off grid.
And like one of the guys does the competitive online multiplayer stuff.
Interesting. Well, I mean that's one thing I will say when it comes to online gaming nowadays. You don't really need a super fast internet connection to be able to play. Okay, apparently all my dogs have gotten excited. It's probably the UPS man delivering something, but all right. Of course, during the podcast, all the dogs go crazy. That's gotta happen. Now, I will say one thing. When it comes to power and stuff out where you are, how much do you like being off grid? Because I feel like I would love it.
I love it.
Mhm.
I don't have. Basically I've got a food bill and an internet bill.
That's it. Life. Also, do you find life more enjoyable out where you are?
Yeah.
So now here's my last question, and you don't have to answer this because this is not always an appropriate question. But do you have a job, and if so, like, do you absolutely need it?
On and off. I've got a plaster job coming up. I'm not sure if it's going to start this month or next month. And I do like, small solar system installs sometime, but nothing regular.
See, that's what I do. I work very sparsely on and off, do odd jobs. And now the only reason I'm able to do that where I am is because I've cut my expenses down a lot. But
I worked my booty off till I was 40, and it's like decided, that this just isn't. I can't keep doing this for the rest of my life. And
that's all. I mean, I respect the hell out of that. I do. Lewis, do you have any plans for, like moving off grid or anything? Because here's one thing: if you don't know this about me, I'm very much looking forward to getting off grid and doing that eventually. But
and nowadays, pretty much all the equipment for electricity is really cheap, except for the batteries. Everything else is super cheap.
well, I wouldn't say super cheap.
It is here.
Well, see, here's the thing. Even out here, it's cheap, but it depends on your power needs. Like, if you're going to be thinking more like an off-grid person and like lowering your power consumption, it is cheap. It is definitely cheap to go off-grid. Now, if you want to go off-grid and still be able to power your regular old refrigerator, your dryer, all of that, the expense to get an inverter that will not literally explode like a stick of dynamite when you turn one of those on.
What, like $250?
Well, for one that could handle a refrigerator and a washer and dryer going at the same time.
You're not going to do a washer and dryer, but you don't need a dryer out here.
Yeah.
The clothes dry so fast. And a small washer you can run. My neighbors, their system's not that big. I think they got almost 500 watts worth of panels going on right now, but they have more. They run a refrigerator, a freezer, and a big TV, and they very rarely run their generator.
Well, then here's my question: How do you know how big their inverter is? Because their inverter needs to be pretty fat.
I think it's over 2,000 watts.
Yeah, I was about to say it needs to be. So like a 4,000 watt inverter.
And they've got a true sine inverter. It's not a modified square wave. Like I got I think a 1,500 watt inverter. It was like $100, $120.
Damn. Okay. Well, out here where I am, at the very least, it's for an Energizer 4,000 watts, and this is not even a pure sine wave. This is a modified sine wave inverter. It would be $355 for that.
That's not bad.
Again, it's not bad. Now, if I wanted a pure sine wave 4,000 watt inverter, now again, 4,000 watts is very much overkill.
Yeah, you're going to pretty much have to have a 24 volt system for that.
You can get 4,000 watts at 12 volt. Now, you go any over 4,000 watts, and you're going to need a 24, like 5,000 watt, anything else.
Your cables going to your inverter for that are going to be huge, though, to handle the amperage.
Yes, yeah. That, again, when it comes to setting up your solar system, if you're going to be supporting a lot of power, you definitely need to make sure that your cables are thick enough. Okay, let's just please God know that. Now, one thing I will say this again: the only reason that going 4,000 watts would be necessary is if you're trying to power a regular American home with all the appliances in it, and no one gives two damns about how like flicking on power switches for stuff.
Well, even the Outback, they use a lot of the Outback 3,600 watt inverters at a off grid community for rich people near here. And there's a guy he even runs a 120. It's 120 volt, but he even welds with it.
Ooh, okay.
With one of those, a MIG welder, and it's an American MIG welder. It's not some cheap Chinese thing. It's a Miller, I think, or it's one of the American company, a good one, not a crap one. But he's got a solar trailer he rents out. It's got the it's got panels mounted the outside of it. It's just a little rectangle, and then on the inside is the inverter and the charge controller and the batteries. And instead of, when he's welding at home, instead of sucking off of his house, he sucks off of his solar trailer.
You should. Now, and so here's one thing too. I will say this. I'm going to go ahead and quickly here price out.
But that's pretty extreme. Welding off of solar is pretty extreme. You generally run a generator for that.
Yeah, and also the amount of people out there that are going to be having a solar system where you're also welding is very far between. But when it comes to your solar system, nowadays, even for a very, very nice system, it's not expensive.
Just the batteries.
And even a decently picked out set of batteries aren't going to set you back too much. Now, I know I've got a gel battery here. It is, oh wait, what am I doing? I just searched gel battery. They're not that expensive. So did you say you had a bad experience with gel batteries?
Yep.
So what happened with your gel battery? Did it just die?
10 of them fried within, or 8 or 10 of them. It was like 8 or 10 of them all fried within a year. I don't know what happened to them, but they didn't last a year.
You asked the question if I want to, if I have plans on going off grid, but no, I don't have any plans.
Well, I will say this. It's definitely something to give a think about. I really want to get to the point, because I mean, if you think about it, it's a way better way of living. At least the way I look at it, it is. You don't have to work. If you're doing something, it's because you want to do it. The only work that you got to do is make sure that you got food. That's it.
Now, if I needed a really huge battery bank, I'd go for Edison cells, but that's like a $3,000 investment or somewhere around in there, because you have to have a minimum of 10 of them for a 12-volt system, or 1.2 volts each.
Yeah. Well, I will say one thing. There's a nice company.
They've been known to last for 70 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's actually common to have Edison batteries from 1940 still working today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you can go to this website here. It's ironedison.com, and they sell Edison batteries. And
are those the cheap? Are those the Chinese ones?
I'm not sure. But they're not cheap either. I will say that much.
Right. No, they're not cheap. I think there's an American company that they used to just rebuild Edison cells, but I think they might be actually manufacturing them now. I can't remember what the name of them is. But if I was going to get from them, I'd drive up to Denver to pick them up.
Well, I mean, I will say one thing. These batteries here come with a literal 30-year warranty. So, I mean, they're probably going to last a lot longer than 30 years. But if they die in 30 years, you literally just have to send them back and they'll send you a new one.
And they're less toxic, and they're not flammable like lithium ions, and they're less toxic than lead acids. It's nickel, iron, and potassium hydroxide is the electrolyte. They're alkaline cells.
And they're very low maintenance. Very low. I don't even know if they do require maintenance, right?
Once every 10 years, you replace the electrolyte, and of course you got to keep topping them off with water.
Yeah.
And you have battery oil, which is a layer of oil that sits on top of the water, because one thing that will destroy them is air. If they get any carbon from the air and then the batteries get carbonized, they're screwed. Although there is a way to fix that, but it requires taking the battery completely apart.
Now, again, we're talking about how you mentioned how expensive they were. To get like a 400 amp hour, they go all the way up to 1,000 amp hour in a single battery, or 1,000 amp hours. Now, if you do the math on how much amps your home draws, or like your appliances that you use all the time and that you absolutely need, 700 amp hours would last a ridiculous amount of time. Right?
Yep.
Ridiculous amount of time. You could not get solar for like a week and still be running your refrigerator, computer, and everything, and it still last for a week. But for a 200 amp hour one, which is pretty much the sweet spot for just about everybody, it's about $2,500. Now, to get gel batteries, you can get 3 100 amp hour gel batteries. So get 300 amp hours for it's less than $200 a pop. So much cheaper. And gel batteries are essentially no maintenance. As far as I know, they are no maintenance. But that being said, they're far less reliable than nickel iron or even lithium.
I'm going to go ahead and answer a question in the chat. My internet, there's a repeater for the local high-speed internet. They got off-grid. I think they got off-grid repeaters all over the place, and there's a repeater about a mile away from me. I got a little dish pointed to, and I get 4 megabits per second down and 16 megabits per second up with the plan I'm on.
It's weird that you get more up speed than you get down.
Did I say that wrong?
Oh, did you mean 16 megs down?
I meant 4 up, 16 down. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's just I took what you were saying at face value, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like,
no, I said it wrong then. If that's what I said.
I mean, that's
4 up, 16 down.
That's still good internet.
And they have faster plans, but I'm not sure. It depends on where you're at, whether you're actually going to get the extra speed or not.
And is it cheap?
The plan I'm on is $70 a month.
Oh yeah.
They have a. They probably have. They have like a $35 a month tier, and then I was on the $50 a month, which was 2 up, 8 down, but I bumped that up to the next plan, and I'm still getting. I'm getting really close.
Yeah, because I mean, I would say one thing. When you're trying to stream, 2 megabits up is just not enough.
Yeah, you can do 480p, I think it's 2 megabits.
Now, so for anybody who's not seeing the screen right now, maybe I've actually done my due diligence. With
my plan now, I can stream at 720p.
Yeah. And it looks just. I streamed. It was uploading at 720p. I saw a comment. But yeah, you can stream in 720p. And here's the thing: I was uploading in 720p. No one said anything. No one noticed, said anything. So 720p is more than fine. I stream at 1080, and I know it's a little over. Like it's not necessarily overkill, but it's not necessary whatsoever.
And I'm doing integrated graphics, so I'm not playing at 1080p anything anyway, really. Unless it's super old. Well, my monitor only goes up to 1600 by 900, so.
Well, that's one thing. Now, I will say one thing. So, for those of you who are not seeing my screen right now, I have
the laptop monitor is actually higher resolution than the desktop monitor, but then that screen's so small, I still have it on 720p, so I don't have to scale everything to where I can see it.
Mm-hmm. If you're not seeing the screen, I have priced out a solar setup here, and it's pretty overkill if we're being honest. And it comes out to under $1,700. And to be honest, for a system that will literally pay for itself in no time, like, I mean, if you think about it, how much do you spend on electricity where you are? It's probably not nothing. It's probably at least 20, 30 bucks a month. Price it out. And this system theoretically would last for upwards of 20 years, properly treated. Would last for easily 20 years.
What kind of batteries?
Now they're gel batteries, and now the ones in here that I added are good. It's from a good company. Now that being said, if you really want to make a good investment, I'd highly recommend with going lithium. That's going to make it closer to 2,000, if not maybe closer to 2,500. But 2,500 bucks for a system that is guaranteed to not have a problem for 30, 40 years. Hell yeah, go for it.
Well, you probably have to end up replacing your batteries halfway through the 20-year point, but
I mean, if you go lithium, probably not.
I don't know about that.
Well, if they're kept cool, if they're kept at a reasonable temperature, you should be fine. And now that being said too, as long as your solar charger is not cheap, as long as you don't cheap out on the solar charger,
Well,
everything
the
should be fine.
lithiums are just way more complicated anyway, because you have to have a better battery management system and all that stuff.
Yeah. But that being said, they will last much longer. Again, as long as you do the proper setup, get everything right, they will last much longer.
I'd be more inclined to believe that if like laptop batteries and phone batteries and stuff lasted, but they don't.
Yeah, but I will say this. If you think about it, with phone and laptop batteries, they're not treated the way they're built to. Like the way your laptop is actually designed to be charged is you're meant to charge it up to full and unplug it. That's how it is. It's actually, when they charge the battery inside of your laptop, they don't have a good charge controller going to the battery.
Nope.
So you're essentially like the way I keep my laptop right now, it's plugged in. I keep it plugged in just about all the time. And that's actually not good for the battery. The battery is fine. It's just the way they're charging it is bad.
Yeah, I make sure to unplug this thing a lot, like every day, and run it down.
And then if you think about phones too, phones are is a different issue. But when it comes to your actual solar setup, you're meant to charge it up, and then when you start draining the battery down, you have a system that's going to continually charge it back up to full. Most people, not all of us, but most people charge their phones up. They let it get to like 84, 90%, unplug it, go about their business. Most people don't keep them plugged in. Like, luckily now it's become more and more popular for people to just plug it in at night, charge it up to full, and then use it the next day. But if we're being honest, a lot of people don't do that. And they just charge it up to almost full and unplug it. And if you do that frequently, and it's not that frequently, that's required. But if you do it just frequently, that battery is actually going to get trained that like 84, 90% is actually full battery, which is, again, not good. Or also, this is another thing that is completely just related to phones, but there's also planned obsolescence in phones. So the software and the manufacturer guarantee that the performance of that battery will get worse over time.
Right.
Because if you had a battery that lasted indefinitely, like lithium ions pretty much should, like, I mean, they last long enough that you could just call it indefinitely, get properly treated. When you go buy a new phone, you have to go buy a new phone, man. Manufacturers know that. So they design their shit to break because they need to sell you a new phone. Sadly, how the world works. That's why it's ridiculously overpriced to get something like a nickel iron battery.
And then another question in this chat was gaming experience. My ping tends to be between 20 and 30 milliseconds.
Oh, that's
so
not bad.
I don't have any trouble with GeForce Now or anything like that, which I haven't messed with since I'm not gaming on Opinium anymore.
But it's worked no problem for you?
Yeah.
Epic. I've had way too many problems with GeForce. Lewis, have you had, I just now realized you haven't talked in a minute. Have you had any problems with GeForce Now?
What a G-Force.
Yeah,
Sorry that I
GeForce Now.
don't know it. But...
It's a game streaming service, and it's the one I prefer because it links to Steam, GOG, Epic, and so you don't have to repurchase games that you've already purchased. It works with the games you already own.
No, I just play Minecraft. I don't play any games.
Well, all right, Buddy is whining like crazy. I've got to go take care of this dog. I don't know how long this podcast has been, but we have definitely bounced all over the place, talked about plenty of different stuff. So I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I want to go ahead and say thank you to my patrons, and by patrons I mean Matt. Thank you, brother, very much. If you guys want to support the podcast, me, and stuff, check out the links in the description. Also, Jeff's channel will be down in the description, as well as his Twatter. So go over there and hit him up if you use Twatter. Now, I guess we're going to end it off. See you guys.
All right. Have a great day.
Yes, bye.
And have a